Welcome back to What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur. I'm Vincent Lanci, speaker, author, and coach based out of Tampa, Florida. Want to know what it's really like to be an entrepreneur? Well, you came to the right place. Whether you're already an entrepreneur or looking to start your journey tomorrow, or just someone who needs a little extra motivation to get through the day, this is the perfect podcast for you. This is the place where you will learn exactly what it's like in the world of entrepreneurship and hear authentic stories of entrepreneurs grinding on each episode. My goal for this podcast is to help you realize that giving up is never an option. If you missed the last episode, be sure to download it after you tune in today. Before I introduce my guest, I'll share another entrepreneurial story to inspire you all. For today's episode, I will introduce the entrepreneurial path of someone who is known by everyone, no matter what decade they were born in. I will now introduce the story of Arnold Schwarzenegger related to his entrepreneurial endeavors. From winning Mr. Universe and Mr. Olympia a combined 12 times to becoming the governor of California, what hasn't this mega entrepreneur put his hands on? His first big break was in Hollywood back in 1982 for his role in Conan the Barbarian. This film actually grossed more than $3 billion. What I found interesting to learn was his first million came from nothing to do with entertainment. I thought this was an important quote to provide for you all, as entrepreneurs need as many revenue streams as possible. He said, "I did not rely on my movie career to make a living." He added, "That was my intention, because I saw over the years that people that worked out in the gym and that I met in acting classes, they were all very vulnerable because they didn't have any money and they had to take anything that was offered to them because that was their living. I didn't want to get in that situation." He transferred his earnings from bodybuilding to real estate, and he describes putting only around $100,000 down on payments for buildings worth $500,000, which were worth $800,000 in under a year. Arnold's a true entrepreneur. Chris, what'd you like best about his story?
I mean, definitely the real estate aspect, because that's one of the fields that I'm in. But it's obviously nice to see, someone come from nothing and, still be pretty modest about it. People glamorized, Arnold Schwarzenegger as, the biggest action star in, almost the world for many years. And then obviously, men and women alike, they were mystified by, him having the nicest body in the world, so.
What's your favorite project that Arnold's done? What's your favorite piece of him?
I mean, I like the Terminator series just because, it almost feels like we're in a little post-apocalyptic era right now with all this rioting and coronavirus and stuff. So pretty cool, especially with all the technology that's coming about now with, all the AI, the artificial intelligence and stuff. It's cool.
Absolutely. Well, that voice you all just heard, that's the sound of today's guest. My guest on the show today is someone I met over a decade ago as a student at the University of Tampa. When I met him, he was already an entrepreneur and was killing it in the nightlife industry, but has now added several other entrepreneurial endeavors to his resume. I had to have him on the show to inspire you all through his activities and stories, as he's been running multiple businesses for quite some time. Allow me to please introduce Chris Shafer. Chris, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Vinny. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Would you mind please introducing yourself to our listeners a little more and preview your story without giving too much of your entrepreneurial journey away?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Chris Schaefer. I'm originally from New York. Like Vinny said, I'm a University of Tampa alumni, graduated in 2008. I was dual major. I was pre-medicine, Army ROTC. Did my basic and airborne school, and then shattered my kneecap. And now I'm doing still own Legacy, the nightlife and event marketing. And then I'm a licensed real estate agent, realtor, and investor.
When did you open up Legacy?
So it actually started from Fresh Entertainment, because that was my nickname in college. I was from New York, so I always had the fresh fades. So people, dotted me as Fresh. So we started Fresh Entertainment back in 2007, and then Legacy was born just a few years after.
Crazy how long it's been, man. Congratulations on the success. But right now, Chris, it's time for the big five. On each episode, my guest and I go over these 5 questions to help you, the listeners, learn what it's really like to be an entrepreneur. You ready to go?
Give it to me.
Great. So when did you realize that you either weren't happy with what you were doing or you needed some kind of change to truly start this entrepreneurial journey? Please share your story with us.
So, I mean, obviously, as you're a kid, you always have a dream of growing up to be, X, Y, or Z. Whether it be an astronaut or a police officer, a firefighter, or a superhero. So, I mean, I always, I had a lot of medical people in my family. A couple doctors, a couple nurses. And that's why I went to school for pre-medicine, and I was going to be a doctor in the military. I was actually looking to join a Ranger battalion, and I wanted to be a combat doctor. And I shattered my kneecap a week before I commissioned as a second lieutenant. And just going through the whole process, I also, obviously with the timing, I graduated during the recession. Universal healthcare was a big thing.
Right.
It was just difficult for me to comprehend getting involved in something that I was no longer passionate about after going through the process. I didn't really care for the doctor who did my surgery. I felt like he kind of butchered my knee, and I kind of lost my passion for medicine. And I was, like you had told the audience, I currently was already doing some entrepreneurial type stuff. I just never thought about expanding that and turning into an actual, business. At the time, it was just for fun. And then I realized, I'm like, if I want to do something, I want to do something that I'm enjoying, that I can make my own schedule and be passionate about. I want to leave my legacy on people and, give them something to remember, me by.
Yeah, absolutely. Very admirable for sure. If your injury had gone a little bit better, do you think you would have stayed during the medicine route?
You know what? I don't think I would, just because, at the time, doctors really weren't making what they were making. Those early 2000s, a lot of people were, into suing doctors. So malpractice was insane.
Right.
It just wasn't a prestigious time to be a doctor. So they came, physician assistants started to become really popular. I went to go that route, and, I was really excited about it because, you could do everything a doctor could, but, you had somewhat less responsibility. So as soon as I started looking into it, I applied to a couple schools, and it was very competitive. Forbes magazine, that year said it was one of the most prestigious jobs in the country because, you could perform surgery, you could do everything a doctor can do, just obviously under the guidance of another doctor. So decided to pursue it as hard as I could. You needed a 4.0 GPA, and at the time I had only graduated with a 3.2, and they wanted you to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of medical experience. I had recommendations from, a ton of people in the medical industry, and, it was just still extremely difficult because everyone wanted that job. And, I typically don't give up on things, but like I said before, I had already lost my passion for it.
Right.
So that, I made the decision. I'm like, I want to be in business on my own. I want to make my own schedule. I want to be financially independent, and like I said, I want to leave my legacy. I want to leave my stamp.
Yeah, losing your passion can kind of take all the fun out of it, and you have to enjoy it a little bit, or what's the point of doing it? But since you chose being an entrepreneur, you have a lot of experience now doing it. What would you say 1 or 2 of the most difficult parts of being an entrepreneur are for you, Chris?
So there's actually 3 things that come to mind, and it's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And this is pretty much how all entrepreneurial businesses start is the startup. How do I start it up? How do I raise the capital? How do I get my name out there? Is my product successful? And am I going to be able to make some money off this? Because obviously not everything you're passionate about is going to make you money. So
Yep.
So, I mean, that's obviously a huge thing is getting the whole thing started. And, you got to really be in a right, in the right state of mind. And you got to feel confident in yourself that, whatever you're about to push, out to the people and, release to the world, you want to give it your best effort, because if you don't, you're going to fall short. So, the second thing I would definitely say is, while you're in business and as you're being successful, you don't want to get complacent. You got to continue to evolve and, hone your craft.
Very
And you
true.
really
Good
need
choice.
to, yeah, no, absolutely. And, you really need to, not let competition even catch up to you. Because a lot of times people will sit back and they'll be like, well, listen, I'm the king of the castle. I'm on top right now. But, realistically, someone else out there might be younger, hungrier, and have more energy than you. So, you already have the advantage of being on top. You just have to separate and make sure that, everyone else is a distant second that people aren't even considering. The third thing is, everyone's dream. I mean, you want to monetize your business so that you're making residual income. You want to figure out how you can grow your business to the point where you're not going to have to work as much. Because at the end of the day, we're all hustlers, and hustlers, and to me, it's a synonym for entrepreneur. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you don't want to hustle for the rest of your life. You want people to do the hustling for you.
Yeah.
So, once you can monetize your business and start getting some residual income, and find like-minded entrepreneurs, that you treat well and you have the same goals and passions, and, vision, then you're going to set yourself up for success.
All great points. The difficult parts of an entrepreneurship definitely do come in stages. And like you said in the beginning, you go 0 to 100, right? You have nothing and you have something, but it's about staying in your own lane, not worrying about what other people are doing, the competition, let alone saying. The longer you stay focused, the better off you're going to be. But with that is a lot of people are going to be saying things, but there's also opportunities to learn from a lot of people. What would you say one of your greatest failures or lessons learned is, Chris? And what did it teach you? Why has it stuck with you all the way up till today?
It's tough to really think about that. I think I don't consider it a failure. I consider it a lesson learned, because at the end of the day, I don't like to bring negative energy with words like failure or hate or anything like that. So, like I said, to me, it's a lesson learned. I just wish I would have diversified my entrepreneurship a little bit earlier. Obviously now I'm a licensed real estate agent investor. I became a licensed real estate agent, learned and mastered the trade, about 6 years ago. This past year, I recently just became the top sales agent and agent of the year at my brokerage at Impact Realty. So, obviously I feel very blessed by that. But, if I would have started a couple of years early and was able to really capitalize on the big short in the real estate market, I feel like right now I could have been elevated to a different status. But at the same time, hindsight is 2020. You know what I mean? You look back to learn from your mistakes, but the only direction you want to go is onward and upward or forward. So, I don't have any regrets, because at the end of the day, there's plenty of millionaires out there and billionaires out there who lost, they lost their hat. So, like I said, I'm just blessed that I'm in the position I am right now, that, I had a job that was essential and I was able to work during quarantine. And,
Yep.
I felt like I was one of the agents out there who was taking the risk, because I know that people need houses, and, I'm passionate about what I do. You know what I mean? I'm going to show people as many houses they want to see until they fall in love. Because at the end of the day, I'm not a salesman. I'm a matchmaker.
I think you said it great before too, where we're talking about having a couple things going on in case of the recession. Obviously, with legacy probably being a little bit on hold because of the laws right now, you still had other income available.
Correct. I mean, because at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, with legacy, we used our database, and we pushed out, and through all of our channels, whether it be email blasts, text blasts. We even paid for sponsored ads to support all local restaurants.
It's amazing, yeah.
We put it out there, and anybody who reached back out to us, we offered our helping hand, because at the end of the day, we want to see our community come back alive.
That's right.
In response to everything that's going on right now, especially with Blackout Tuesday, you know, and you know, the excuse me, with you know, all the oppression of African Americans. I mean, we're about to make a, you know, a substantial donation to all the local charities to support them and, you know, their cause and their struggle right now. And then, you know, hopefully once this whole thing smooths over, you know, we're going to do a, you know, a big event and a fundraiser on top of that. So, but right now I'm just happy that I do have that database and that platform and that voice that we can at least help, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, obviously we want to take care of ourselves, but, you know, for your soul, there's nothing better than helping other people.
Couldn't agree more. Volunteering, giving back is a great pleasure of mine. I try to get involved as much as possible. As far as coronavirus, I did a little GoFundMe for the staff over at TGH, which was something I tried to do my best. I understand that right in this situation, a lot of people don't have to give, and you do have to feed yourself before you feed other people. But for people that did help, I'll thank you again here. It was great to give back to TGH. But Chris, if you could choose to have a conversation and learn from any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, I mean, there's so many of them.
That's what makes this question one of my favorites. So many
yeah,
options.
I mean, this has got to be my least favorite question. I mean, you know, this might be a lot of people's answers. It might not, but you know, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, you know, kind of brings, you know, that warm and fuzzy to me, just because, you know, he's a real person. You know, I had the chance to, you know, to bump into him one time, and I was very fortunate. And you know, he just, to me, he seems like an honest, genuine, caring person. I remember as a kid, you know, seeing him when he was starting his wrestling career, you know, and I'm pretty sure it was one of those, it was like a Royal Rumble match where there's a bunch of guys in the ring, and he was one of the first guys thrown out. And, you know, at the time, I was like, you know, I don't know if he's going to make it. And, you know, now he's the world's biggest action star, the highest paid actor. You know, one of the really, no, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Not as many people as you think have picked him. He was a spotlight story in the beginning of the show as we did Arnold today, but not that many.
You know what? I was gonna say Arnold, but you know, I figured more people would have picked him than The Rock.
Oh, they're both good choices.
But one of the main things that really impressed me about him was that you know, out in the Midwest at one of the Air Force bases, you know, he paid for and hosted a concert, you know, for our military. And I just thought that was absolutely incredible. You know what I mean? Because, you know, if it wasn't for them, you know, we wouldn't be the great nation of, you know, America that we are today. You know what I mean? You know, fighting for our freedom.
Well, yeah, Chris, a lot of options with The Rock. Where would this meeting be? If you had to pick, you know, where would it be?
To be honest, I would probably let him choose, because I'm sure it would blow my mind away. I mean, you know, I've been pretty open-minded during quarantine, you know, learning to, you know, take other people's suggestions, and I've become somewhat of a yes man, you know, to try new things and explore, you know, other people's passions and things that they like. So, you know, I would ask him. I'd be like, listen, you know, whenever, wherever, you know, want to meet, I'm down. So
definitely be a lot of great advice in there. But now here we are, coronavirus, Blackout Tuesday, a lot of things going on in this world. Yeah. Let's look into the future a little bit. Where do you see yourself in all of your entrepreneurial endeavors 1 year from today? Paint that picture for the audience.
So, you know, obviously a lot of people, you know, are like, this, you know, 2020 is a wash, can't wait for 2021. But you know what, I really took this time to, you know, focus on myself. And, you know, I said that, you know, if I didn't come out of this thing at the end of the day feeling like a better person, you know, with my pockets fatter and my belly skinnier and, you know, my mind fuller, then I was going to be disappointed in myself. So, I mean, probably for this next year, I mean, whether my business escalates and, grows or not, I'm not overly concerned about it. Obviously, my goal is to double my business, for next year. But at the same time, if, if I could come out of this whole situation a better person and, just, get a little recharge so
Yeah.
that I can get, increasingly more passionate about what I love to do. And, that's obviously real estate and, hosting incredible, memorable events. Then I'm fine with that. You know what I mean?
What do you have going on? So you have legacy going on and real estate. Is that the two things you're working on right now?
Yeah. So I actually own a real estate investment company with my father. We both put a portion of money in together, and we put $100,000 each in, and we've grown our portfolio to 8 properties in 2 years. So,
Nice.
with almost $2 million in real estate, and we do the BRRRR method. So it's, we buy the properties in cash, we rehab them in cash, we refinance, and then we repeat after we rent them. So, with this model, if you do it correctly with your investment, you basically rinse and reuse your money, and you get an unlimited cash on cash return. So it's,
What's the biggest challenge in that industry as far as now being on the investment side?
well, it's very difficult and time consuming because obviously you have to run the comps. You have to, you have to know your product. You know what I mean? You have to know specific areas. So what I let people know is, whenever they're trying to dive into something, don't dip your hands in too many different jars because, you're not going to get a good taste of one thing of whether you like it or not. So give one thing a shot. If you want to dabble in something else, just for fun, as a side hustle, then go for it. But the main challenge overall is just, putting together your model and sticking to it. Because if you veer from your model, it's going to set you back, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's look a little deeper now here. Well, actually, I also would like to touch a little more on legacy because that is a true entrepreneurial endeavor. Let's explain where it is now to how you started.
Sure. So, obviously things have changed quite a bit from my old college days bartending on the rooftop of Prana, but now we have a successful 10-year long Halloween party. It's called Temptation. It's one of the biggest in town. We host our New Year's Eve event at the Aloft in downtown Tampa. It's been uber successful. We're going on 7 years on that. I love the people who work there. It's been fantastic. We've also been doing events at Shepherd's on Sundays, the EDM festivals, the electronic dance music. It's unbelievable out there. And then we also have all the events that we've been doing at the Hard Rock. So things are going good. We're definitely going to be focusing a lot more on the special events, the charity events, the fashion shows, the art shows, and really focusing on trying to put premier events in Tampa. As opposed to spending our energy on the weekly stuff. We'll probably have a home base or two, but as of right now, our focus and our passion is definitely doing the special events. When you're spending months putting something together and people, tell you, hey, this is one of the best events we've ever been to. This is the best New Year's I've ever had. This is the wildest time I've had for Halloween, or this. I was crying during this charity event just because it was so well put together. Then, that gives you the feel good. And that's obviously what you want.
So what made you transition to get a little more involved in real estate? Is this time for just something new, or was there something that you always wanted to be a part of?
You know what? I had my first landlord out of college was a real estate broker, and he was bugging me and nagging me for years. He's like, you don't know the potential that you've had, and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, maybe that isn't a whole bunch of blah blah blah, and maybe I do have a lot of potential.
So you checked it out. All right, worth trying something new always.
Yeah. So I went and got my license, and believe it or not, I actually dipped my feet in one of the the name brand real estate brokerages. And then I realized, I'm like, it's not about the name brand that you're with when you're a real estate agent. It's about you. At the end of the day, they're not buying the name on, the brokerage name on your name badge. They're buying you as a person.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. I hang my license with Lombardo Team Real Estate Brokerage over in Tampa here as well. Granted, they've grown a considerable amount, but I get that firsthand help with them. It's about what I can gain, learn. They're trying to help me grow, and that's always important for an environment. But now let's look 5 years, Chris. 5 years from today, what are we seeing from all of your entrepreneurial endeavors?
Well, considering I just turned 34, my retirement goal's at 40. So I'd probably, just be wrapping up and, hopefully sprinting to the finish line at that point.
Right.
So the goal is to have 40 houses in my portfolio by 40, generating, nearly $200,000 in residual income. And, obviously I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a hustler like everyone else out there. And, I'm probably not going to stop there, but that's my milestone. But, I think I could probably retire pretty comfortably at 40 with 200K a year coming in.
I'm looking forward to seeing everything you're going to do for the city of Tampa in that period of time. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know our listeners are going to see all the value in your episode. I enjoyed how you gave multiple perspectives of entrepreneurship, different things that you're working on to give that perspective. I loved how you looked at the greatest failures as lessons learned, because that's kind of why I have that question like that, because a lot of people don't want to bring that negative energy there. And your most difficult parts of being an entrepreneur, I know are going to help everybody listening on. But it is time for the last word. Is there something that you'd like to share on with our audience that we did not get to touch on yet today?
Well, find your passion and then, find the need and feed the need. You know what I mean? You just, once you find something you love that, makes you money, it honestly doesn't matter how much money you're making from it as long as you're happy. Because at the end of the day, that's all it's about. It's about not just about your physical health or your bank account. It's about your mental health as well. And just, never stop fighting for it.
It's a
Especially if
great
that's
last word. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you mind please sharing your professional social media website or ways for our listeners to follow your endeavors or request some of your services?
Absolutely. If you guys want to follow me at Mr. South Tampa on Instagram for any of my real estate endeavors, you'll see all my videos of all my clients' homes that I've sold in the past. You'll also be able to see video walkthroughs, tours of all the properties that, even the ones that I was showing today just now, hence why I'm in the car. And then if you'd like to check out Chris Legacy 813, that's going to be all my, personal dining experiences, trips and stuff. I've booked quite a few trips, here in the next month or so, because obviously it can't just be all work. It needs to be play too, because, like I said, the mental health aspect, you have to find balance in this crazy thing we call life. Yep. And then, last but not least is obviously Legacy Tampa, and you can go to legacytampa.com, our website, to see any of the events. At Legacy Tampa is our Instagram. Big shout out to my business partners, Ryan Littler and Scotty Gengler. And yeah, thanks a lot, Vinny, for having me. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome, very enlightening. I hope some of the people enjoyed my words of wisdom, and hopefully it inspires them to, follow their dreams.
Be sure to check out his social media and website for all that great value, and be sure to check out the show on whatever social media you use. We're on LinkedIn at What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur, and we're over on Facebook and Instagram at Your Favorite Morning Podcast. Twitter is Podcasts by Lanci, so you get both my shows, and of course my handles on all social media and YouTube are at Vincent A. Lanci. Be sure to check out my books, Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption, and How to Transform Your Mindset When the Norm is Changed, both on Amazon or my website, vincentalanci.com. But when you read, DM me or email me, because I want to hear what you think. If you like today's episode, please continue listening and rate A Mental Health Break with Vincent A. Lanci 5 stars. I work hard to find value delivering guests for you on each episode. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all in the next episode of What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur.